Hi. My message this morning is called Getting Your Train Back on Track. This is the live stream from the live stream service today, June 28th, the year 2020. The greatest transportation system in the world is a train of thought. And I got the idea for today's message from an article that was written by a Unity minister, J. Sig Paulson. He wrote, "Our train of thought can and will carry us wherever we direct it to go. We are always directing it by choice or by concession." He wrote, "Like the conductor on a real train, we are at the control panel of our own engine of mind. And behind us trail boxcars of thoughts and feelings and attitudes." Let's take a moment to look at the word train and see how this relates to our thinking. The dictionary states, number one, that a train is something that hangs down and drags behind. Well, isn't it true that the wrong kind of thoughts can make us hang down and drag our behinds? Number two, a train is a group of persons following as attendants in a procession. Well, we also find that certain thoughts can lift us up, can minister to us, and assist us just like attendants, personal attendants can. Definition number three of a train. To train means to discipline or condition, to guide or control the physical, mental, or moral development of ourself or another. If we are willing to take a closer look at ourselves, we will find that our thoughts do just this. Our train of thoughts trains us. We are guided, controlled, and conditioned to respond to our life experiences, our situations, based on the thoughts and feelings which we drag around with us in our boxcars. In his book, The Power of Constructive Thinking, Emmett Fox emphasizes the idea that it is the thoughts that we allow ourselves to think and the subjects that we allow our mind to dwell upon which determine our whole character. Fox wrote that the present condition of every phase of our life is in fact entirely conditioned, he said, by the thoughts and feelings which we have entertained in the past, by the habitual tone of our past thinking. Here are a couple of key ideas to be aware of here. The first is that these thoughts which are formative in us, not casual. So by formative I mean they're creative, they do things. These thoughts prompt us, motivate us to do things or not to do things. Okay? They are not casual one-night stand thoughts. These are thoughts that we actually entertain. These are thoughts which we open the door of our consciousness to. We welcome these thoughts into our mind and we feed them by giving them our time and attention. Number two, these thoughts and feelings become habitual. They create in us a feeling tone or a mood, meaning that we get so cozy with these thoughts and feelings, whether they're negative or positive, that we let them actually move in with us, move into our consciousness, and we give them the best room in the house, at the forefront of our mind. These kinds of thoughts, which we make at home in our consciousness, are the ones that Emmett Fox is saying determines our character and how we experience our life. Now I just want to give a little reminder here that rain falls on everyone and everything. Both the good and what we call the bad happen to everyone. But the thing is that we determine what our response will be to the things which happen to us. And in this way, we create our experience of these situations. We set the track that we're going to travel on. Growing up, our dad was he loved Westerns, okay? And he watched Westerns on TV. Gunsmoke with Miss Kitty, Rawhide with Roddy, Bonanza with Little Joe and Hoss, and Cowboys and Indians were a popular theme. Wagon Trains, John Wayne were his favorites. And then later he added Clint Eastwood to his collection of favorites. Go ahead, make my day. You know, that guy. One of the common occurrences in these westerns was for the trains to get robbed by bandits who stole the bank money that was being transported from town to town. And they also robbed the passengers of their valuables. The bandits would hijack the train, riding their horses at top speeds to overtake the trains. And when they got close enough, they'd jump from their horse onto the train, break out a window and get inside the train, and go up and down the aisle, robbing everyone of their goodies. To hijack means to seize illegally something that is in transit, to hold up and to rob, to coerce or compel another against their expressed wish. This happens to our train of thoughts all the time. We get hijacked, we get robbed all the time if we're not careful, if we're not mindful. By ganging up on us and chasing us down with unpleasant experiences and unfortunate circumstances, our negative thinking about these situations can rob us of our inner valuables like joy, like enthusiasm, peace of mind, self-confidence, self-esteem, the ability to see good happening, and the desire to achieve and accomplish great things in our lives. We can be robbed of these things, and our train of thought be disrailed. Here's a story about a man whose train of thought got hijacked. I think we can all take a lesson from this story. A salesman driving on a lonely country road one dark and rainy night had a flat tire. He opened his trunk, but he found no lug wrench with which to change the tire. As he looked around, he saw the light from a farmhouse in the distance, and it was very dim up the road. So he set out on foot through the driving rain. Surely, he thought, the farmer would have a lug wrench which he could borrow. Of course, it was late at night, he thought, and the farmer would be asleep in his warm, dry bed. The salesman thought, well, maybe he wouldn't even answer the door. And if he did, he'd probably be angry by being awakened in the middle of the night. The salesman, picking his way blindly in the dark, stumbled on, headed toward the light. By now, his shoes and his clothes were drenched. Then he thought, well, even if the farmer did answer his knock, he'd probably say something like, "What's the big idea waking me up at this hour?" This made the salesman so angry. He thought, what right did that farmer have to refuse him the loan of a lug wrench? After all, here he was, stranded in the middle of nowhere, soaked to the bone. The farmer was a selfish clod, he thought. No doubt about it. The salesman finally reached the farmer's house, and he banged loudly on the door. A light went on inside, and a window opened above, and a voice called out, "Who is it?" His face white with anger, the salesman shouted, "You know darn well who it is. It's me. And you can keep your blasted lug wrench. I wouldn't borrow it now if you had the last one on earth. And he stormed away. The salesman was a train wreck. His train of thought was completely off the tracks. A little over a week ago, I spoke with my middle sister on the phone. And last year, she flew in from Long Island, New York, and stayed with me here in Salina for a week. And she attended our church service in December. So a lot of our members may remember Denise. She's 2 years younger than I and my twin sister are. And she's going to be needing to make decisions about Medicare and supplemental health insurance soon. So I shared with her what I had, but she began telling me how all these health insurance companies had begun calling her already. And this caused me to remember my own experience 2 years ago with what seemed to be 1 million companies calling to get me to sign up with them. I'd like to tell you about this experience because it derailed me big time. These insurance agents were a nuisance, calling me from every state in the U.S., all hours of the day and night, and some of them even called me on the weekends. When I refused to pick up the phone, they left, it felt like, about 2 million messages on my answering machine that I had to erase. I noted one caller from a out-of-state company which left 6 messages on my answering machine on the same day. These insurance agents were persistent and relentless. The more calls I received, the more I began to feel my normally calm peace of mind and my positive train of thoughts slipping and sliding off the tracks because I had begun to feel harassed by all of these people calling me. I actually turned into that salesman in the story that I shared with you. I reasoned in my mind that these agents didn't care at all about me. They just wanted to add me to their list of insurance conquests and to have me sign up with their company so their company could make money off of me. Now, I'm the type of person who I don't like just hanging up on people. It just seems so rude. So I usually pleasantly and with grace tell people, no, I'm not interested, but thank you for calling anyway. And I hang up then. Well, it didn't work with these insurance agents. I would tell them, no, I'm not interested, nicely, and expect them to respect my ability, my right to not be interested. But no, they kept talking as I'm hanging up the phone, okay? They wanted to try to pressure me into signing with their company. And I began next simply by not even picking up the phone. And I didn't pick up the phone for any callers outside of the state of Kansas. I did pick up and answer the calls from Kansas because I thought, it could be someone searching for a Unity minister, someone who needed help here in Kansas. However, I made the mistake of accepting one call from Kansas. And this particular call almost caused me to wreck my train completely. I don't remember what company this woman represented, but when I picked up the phone, she began immediately with her company spiel. And I interrupted her and said politely, no, I'm sorry, I've already selected a carrier, but thanks anyway for the call. And because by this time I had made my selection. And I was ready to hang up the phone. Unlike the other callers who graciously accept my right to choose a different company and went on to politely end their call, this woman did nothing of the kind. As soon as I finished speaking, she went right on with her spiel, right where she left off, completely ignoring the fact that I had just shared that I wasn't interested, and in fact, had already signed with another company. So she went right on, and instead of hanging up on her, I was hooked. Something got hold of me. I got hot, and I said, rather sternly, interrupting her, "Miss, I've just told you that I have already selected another company. Do you want to continue to waste your time and mine with this call, or do you want to move on to someone who might purchase your insurance?" Well, that stopped her train of thought. And with a sweet voice, she asked me, "Is there some reason we are being rude right now?" Well, that about did it. I said, "Listen, miss, I politely told you that I have already selected another company, and I thanked you for having called," and clunk, she hung up on me. Well, my peace of mind was totally derailed. I realized I needed to work on myself and to get my thoughts back on a positive track. Forgiveness is what I needed most. And this is where I started. I forgave myself for allowing myself to get caught up in all of these negative thoughts, emotions, and negative attitude. And it seems whenever I begin thinking about what a perfect expression of God I am, I get reminded by experiences like this that spiritually, this is true. I am perfect spiritually, but this human ego self has a lot to learn, and I've got a lot of train tracks to travel yet. I continued forgiving my callers for disturbing me because they were only doing their job. I thanked them in my thoughts for teaching me what I needed to learn, what I needed to work on. And then I moved on to using affirmations. I regained my balance, my peace of mind, and I got back on track with who I am, reclaiming the dominion and the inner guidance that I am given by God over what I can and shall do with my own thoughts. You see, when we find ourselves getting this upset or disturbed over the words or actions of other people, it's time for us to pull the throttle on our train, to stop in our tracks and to ask ourselves, who's running this train? Am I in charge of my thoughts, words, actions, and attitudes, or am I allowing myself to be derailed by negative reactions to the doings of others? God has given us dominion over our thoughts, and we are given the power to choose what we will or will not do with our thoughts. I'd like to share with you a spiritual practice, a spiritual technique called the answer attitude, which helped me get my train back on track. We can use this technique when we find ourselves being pushed off track by too many callers or anyone or anything that threatens to hijack our positive attitude and our positive outlook for the day. The premise is that the solution to our problem or to whatever is disturbing us may be found in the questions that we have about that disturbing problem or situation. Within us there is the divine presence which can give us the answer to fix our attitude when we are being derailed. Here are the basic steps to using the answer attitude. My problem and God's answer. Spiritual exercise. Number 1, my problem. Take a piece of paper and write down the words my problem at the top. Next, identify what your problem really is. Be honest. Ask yourself, now, what exactly is my problem? What exactly is bothering me about this situation? And write the answer down. Now, question yourself and try to pinpoint the basics of your problem. Don't let your thoughts whirl around on all the details of the problem, and try not to go off on emotional binges. Think about it calmly, as if you were a news reporter taking down the facts in the case. You want to write the problem out calmly, clearly, concisely, and as briefly as possible. And usually the problem is what is happening in our thoughts, with our feelings. What kind of attitude is this situation evoking in us? And so these are things that we want to write about as our problem. And then step number two, God's answer. After you are done describing what the problem is, underneath these, write the word God's answer and leave some space for God's answer. Now here, write out God's answer by looking at your original statement. Look at all the negative words or phrases that you used in stating your problem. And now, think about positive words and phrases which are the opposite of those negative ones that you have identified. These positive ones are life-affirming words or phrases, and you'll write these down in the space called God's answer. Number 3. Now, completely rewrite your original description of the problem by substituting your new positive words and phrases, the ones in the God's answers section, and substitute these for those negative words and phrases in your original statement. These are the answers which can help you turn your train around if you find yourself on the wrong track of thinking. And number 4, this new description that you write for your problem is a spiritual prescription, a new affirmative treatment that you can now use to rebalance and to heal you. Write this new statement, spiritual treatment, on a card or on a small sheet of paper so that you can carry it around and view it often throughout your day if you like. Use this affirmative treatment, especially when you feel yourself worrying or fearful about what you described as your problem. And now, claim God's answer instead of the problem. Use this as a meditation, allowing yourself to feel and to image the fulfillment of the truth in God's answer. Now, for myself, my problem was how negative I was feeling because I felt that I was being harassed, pressured, by all of these agents who didn't care about me and just wanted me to sign for their company. So I would write this down under number 1 as the original problem. Next, I'd look at all those words and phrases that were negative, that I was angry, that I was upset, that I'd lost my peace of mind, that I felt that I was harassed by them. And I would write a positive, affirmative word or phrase that would counteract those feelings. For example, I might write, spiritually, I am centered in the peace of God. And now I choose to reclaim this peace in my mind, in my heart. I choose not to let these callers interrupt me and disturb the calm peace in my mind, because God is with me in the midst of this challenging situation. And I don't have to pick up every call. I can choose not to answer, and it can be a simple thing of erasing, hitting the delete when they leave those millions of messages. See? So now, I would rewrite my original statement, stating these positive affirmations about the problem. And this would be God's answer for me. Charles Roth, who wrote The Answer Attitude, which you can find in his book, Mind the Master Key, wrote, there is God's answer and there is our answer. Whenever we become problem conscious and find yourself getting upset over the problem, turn it over to God. And this is what the answer attitude helps us do. He writes, read it over, repeat it, make yourself one with God's answer. state or read the words of our affirmative treatment often enough to allow it to sink into our subconscious level of mind, which will accept the words that we give to it when we back it up with our faith, our imagination, our love, and our trust in God. After a bit, Roth says, we will feel the confidence of our answer and be guided to respond in a way that makes it so in our life. We are consciously, carefully changing our thought or our belief about a situation. Our thoughts and beliefs are the causes. Our outer conditions are the effects of formative thoughts that we've held on to. When we change our cause, we automatically put in motion inner forces which change the outer effects. And this is how we get our train back on the right track in our lives. God bless you. If you would like to have a hard copy of The Answer Attitude, the whole process, as well as the worksheet for working on your problem, just write to me, email me at revbjbanks@gmail.com. REVBJBANKS, all one word, lower letters, at gmail.com, and I'll send you a copy. Thank you. God bless you as you go on with your day, remembering whenever you feel that your train of thoughts are being derailed, stop, pull that throttle. Use an exercise like the Answer Attitude to put you back into a positive, affirmative state of mind. God bless you.